Today is June 13th, 2017. My name is Teresa Larson. I am speaking with Mr. Wei Zhu. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Do I have your permission to record your face and your words this afternoon?
Yes.
Thank you very much. We are going to be talking about your experience as a person growing up in China, but choosing to come to the United States and choosing to settle in Ames, Iowa. Is that our subject for today?
Okay.
Yes. Just so our viewers have an understanding of the time period, you were born during the later years of power of Mao Zedong, yes?
Right.
Did I say that closely enough?
Yeah.
What was your hometown?
I was born in Shanghai. When I was young, my parents moved to different cities. So I lived in Harbin, and then moved to Beijing, and finally moved to Hangzhou, in different cities.
What was your father's job?
My father is the art history professor.
Did he have educational positions in all of those cities?
Yes.
So as a child, you grew up with education as a priority.
Yeah, maybe.
How did you learn your English?
Before I came to this country 21 years ago, I learned a little English when I was in college. I thought it was very good, but actually it's not. So once I came to this country, I had no idea how to speak English. And actually I learned English and everything here.
I see. Did you have brothers and sisters?
I have a younger sister, and she lived in LA.
So your parents continued to live in China when you came to the United States?
Yes.
Yes. Tell me about your childhood. What did you do for education and what did you do for fun?
Well, when I was young, there's not a lot of entertainment since there was no internet. It's I don't know, because with my parents I live in different cities. I travel a lot. And taking trains and the bus is my big memory. And compared with other kids, they don't have a lot of trouble. And different city to meet different people, that's another experience about me.
At what point did you decide that you would like to leave China and come to the United States? How old were you, number one? And number two, how did you come to that opinion?
Well, before I go to college, and I was 20, 21, maybe. I don't know. Everybody thinks to just go to abroad, and the United States is my first country to choose. And I don't know exactly reason, but everybody do this, and so I do it too.
I believe that when you were in university, the power had changed. I hope I pronounced this closely. Deng Xiaoping?
Yeah.
What was it like to live under Deng Xiaoping? Do you have certain kinds of freedoms now? Did you have those then?
Well, it started in 1960s. The country started to change already. It's already huge change compared to the period of time of my parents. It's completely different. So the time I grew up, China started to change already. You can see the huge change. They opened the door, they accepted all kind of cultural and the technologies. Now different. It's very different. It's still low.
When you were a young person, did people who join the Communist Party have more advantage?
Yes. At that time, becoming a Communist Party and a member of a party, still have a lot of advantage.
Did you consider that?
I was young. I was approached to become a party member too. But since I planned to come to abroad, so I didn't do it. I didn't apply it.
If you wanted to come abroad, you wanted to not have that label? Is that what I hear? You wanted to be open?
Maybe because become a party, it's only get advantage in that country at that time. Nothing to do with it here.
Did you have difficulty getting a visa or making arrangements to leave China?
Not really.
No?
No. At that time, it's a visa is a pretty open for Chinese students.
Mm-hmm. Did you have to have some sort of sponsor in the United States?
Yeah, I find a sponsor in the United States, and he can sponsor me for the study and the boarding and everything.
Mm-hmm. Was it very easy to find a sponsor?
Not really. Yeah, I don't have a relatives, and I try to find a friend who can sponsor me. And I asked them, and someone at that time people like to help Chinese people.
Mm-hmm. But it did take you a few years from your decision to come to the United States to getting your visa and getting a sponsor.
Right, right. The reason is not because I can't get a visa. The only reason I don't know how to come over here. There is no so much information how to the whole procedures.
You told me in an earlier conversation, we had a conversation last week, that you wanted to pursue art and you felt that art in the United States was the top of the goal. You wanted to be where good art was located.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
So you came to New York,
Right.
but did you have much money?
No. At that time, I remember I just started work. I make like 100 Chinese yuan at that time. It equals like $20-$30 at the time. So we don't have money to bring it here, and my parents didn't have that much money. I just brought $60 to come to this country.
Can I repeat that? You had $60 in your pocket when you got to the United
Right.
States?
Right, exactly.
New York is an expensive city to live in.
Yeah, everything expensive. Yeah, you have to pay tuition, the rent, and the food.
So I understand you got a job that would pay for your living expenses and also for schooling.
Yeah.
What school did you go to in New York?
We go to New York University.
Did you obtain your degree from New York University?
Yes,
Mm-hmm. And it was in fine art?
fine art.
What medium? Paint, sculpture?
It's called computer art at that time.
Okay.
It's digital art.
Mm-hmm.
It just started computer era at that time.
Yes. New York City is a composite of many different kinds of cultures. If you walk down a street in New York City, you will hear many different languages, usually.
Yeah.
See many different kinds of faces. When you came to Ames, Iowa, was that a surprise? Was it a cultural shock to see not
Yeah.
so much diversity?
Yes, it is different. It's very different. For example, if you live in New York City and you speak in English with a strong accent, you go to the store, go to anywhere, people understand. And in the beginning, I came to here, a lot of people couldn't understand me. Even you just have a little accent, people couldn't understand. And then now it's much better.
What brought you to Ames, Iowa?
Yes, 11 years ago, my wife graduated from a graduate study, and then she got offered here, and also got an offer in the East Coast.
And what is her specialty?
It's just statistics.
Statistics.
Right.
This is a very good statistical department at Iowa State.
Yeah. Iowa State is it's a very, very high rank of statistics. So she finally we choose here. So the whole family moved here.
You told me earlier, and I liked the story, when you came to visit, what month was it?
Well, before we got the offer, we visited here. That's in January of that year. It's interesting that year, January, there's no snow. It's still seeing rain grass at that time. But actually, it's a misleading. Wow.
So your first winter in Iowa was a surprise.
Right.
Cold surprise.
Right. At the first winter, we moved in the summertime, and the first winter it's a really shock.
Although Ames is not as culturally diverse as New York City, we do have the university, which brings in people from all over the globe. So for a small city, we have some diversity, yes. Is there a fairly large Chinese community that you joined here in Ames?
Yes, pretty large now compared to the other towns around. There's a lot of Chinese families, faculties, and staffs moving.
But when you came 10 years ago, was it... Oh, let me rephrase that. When you came 10 years ago, were there fewer cultural things for Chinese than there are now?
Oh yeah, different. You can see the difference.
Tell me about the difference.
Compared to 11 years ago when we moved here, there's almost none good Chinese restaurant here. It's 11 years ago. Probably just one. One, it's not really typical Chinese food. Now you can see it in a lot. Many restaurants, right? The Chinese restaurants make a very authentic Chinese food. You can see the difference in the past 11 years.
What about Chinese grocery stores?
Oh yeah, grocery store. When I came here, there is one grocery store, and it's called Chinese grocery store. Now there is an increase a little bit more, but there's a lot of Asian store carries a lot of the Chinese stuff.
And there is a distinction.
Right.
People who watch and listen to this need to understand that an Asian store has lots of traditions, because it could be Korean or Thai or Vietnamese or Korean or whatever.
Indian.
Yeah.
Right.
In addition to the weather, were there other things you had to adjust to in Ames that maybe you didn't expect to adjust to as a new person coming from a different culture? Were there other adjustments you need to make?
Well, actually, there was a lot. From the weather, the cultural, and to the living habit, and a lot of different area need to adjust. And one of things that I need to adjust is here, compared to New York City, it's a huge difference. People are so nice, driving are so nice. For me, it's getting used to driving so rude, and here I have to learn how to be good enough to drive on the road.
I see. Do you continue to try to celebrate your Chinese culture? Do you get together with people and celebrate special holidays or special calendar days?
Well, there's a couple of important Chinese holidays. First, is the most important, the Chinese New Year. There's a big celebration. There's a lot of parties in the school because a lot of Chinese students. They have different programs. And the friends also celebrate. Our family also invited a lot of friends to celebrate together. And also another one is called the Mid-Autumn Festival. That's in the fall, every fall. Also another big festival.
As a person coming into Ames, did you feel good knowing there were other Chinese people here? Did that feel good to you coming into the community?
Oh yes, as a Chinese people, we of course we hope that there is some Chinese community here, and also in school, for the kids in the school, we also hope there is some different diversities of people.
Is it ever difficult for you to decide for your children, how much do I keep them Chinese and how much do I make them prepared for the culture that they're currently living in? Is that tough as a dad to make that decision?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's very hard. Very hard to the family like us, living in this country, that kids are born here. It's very hard. For their education, they accepted the Western American cultural and education. There's no problem. Language, everything's no problem. But keep them some Chinese cultural and the Chinese language is extremely hard.
Do your children speak Chinese?
Well, we have two children, and the older one, it's Chinese. It's okay because the older one always not bad. It's speaking Chinese before they go to school, and she can understand. And once she goes to school, then the Chinese getting less and less in family. But the second one is a big problem because they speak English only, and especially when they all go to school, start school, and they have Chinese less and less in her family. And finally, actually, we cannot keep it in Chinese in the home. And it's not their fault, it's the parents, our fault. We can't keep it. Finally, we give up. If the kids are keeping asking and then you finally just never mind. It just let you understand it.
Do you have opportunities to take your children back to where you were born or to the cities where you lived in China?
Yes, we very often, because grandparents and their grandparents are still living there, so we go there very often. Not every year, but every other year, to let them see the different culture, the different food, and let them understand where your parents come from.
What do you want your children to remember about your childhood in China?
That's hard. That's very hard because of the environment, the country, the culture. When I was living there, because I've been here for 30 years, more than 30 years. So when I was there in China, everything's different. To let them understand the culture at that time there, extremely hard. To them, I don't know, just bring them back to let them see, this is the city I once lived, and this is the school I once to go. But it's already different. The city is different, and the school are different. And everything, the environment is completely different.
There is an understanding about among people born in America that they have certain rights and privileges because of our Constitution. We have a document that guarantees us certain rights and privileges as citizens. When you talk to your children about China, do you explain that you did not have some of those? That it was a different way of life for you then?
To them, they only have one culture actually. No matter how much we tell them, no matter how often I take them to home country, or how much we tell him about it. In their mind and in their understanding, there's only one culture and one country. It's here. They don't know so much about the others.
It is the classic parent problem. The classic parent problem is, I was born in one culture and I want you to understand, but I understand that you are now in a new culture. And I hear you saying that it's very difficult for children to understand what it was like when you were a child in China.
It is true. It is true.
Yes.
What do we want to give to children? For their future, of course, they only have one culture and one language and one education here. What do we want to give them more? It's just for their future. They have more experience to see the difference compared to the American people only living in this country. They have a different experience.
Yes. Thank you very much for your thoughts. I very much appreciate you reflecting on some questions that are probably difficult, because I ask you to speak about an emotional response to both your home country and to coming to live in Ames.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you very much.